Look, this is an incredible project where a lot of players came together, especially our friends at Chevron, Wildlife and Fisheries Department, and CCA, to build a reef in honor of a young man that we lost way too soon in his life.
So Jacob was our son, our 19-year-old son. He passed away 4 years ago in March, and he was an avid outdoorsman, and that's putting it mildly. He was a very passionate fisherman, and in fact, his nickname was the Fish Whisperer, so I couldn't think of a more fitting tribute to Jacob than to establish an artificial reef in his name. I was on my way home from work, and he called me one day and said that he and Rad had a conversation and that we were going to establish a reef in Jacob's name. And I was literally speechless. I didn't know what to say. I did call my wife and tell her what was going on, and immediately sent out a message to an all call, if you will, to all of my close friends and family members, letting them know what was going to happen, and everybody's been all excited about it ever since.
Jacob is my son, a very, very talented fisherman. We called him the Fish Whisperer because anytime we went out, regardless of whether or not he was catching, some days we weren't, but he always managed to bring in the big fish. He could find them, just very passionate about being on the water.
What's your reaction to CCA doing this?
Overwhelming. It was took my breath away when I just walked out of the marina store and I saw the sign, Jacob Meek, Artificial Reef. He is smiling in heaven looking at this. It really warms my heart, the fact that between CCA, Chevron, the whole crew, everybody that's out here today making this a reality for him. I'm just very grateful. My whole family is.
Jacob was my younger brother, and he absolutely loved to fish. Every weekend we had available, we were going out fishing. Specifically, like to do the offshore stuff. And I think that this reef is going to be an incredible way to commemorate his life. I know for a fact that I'm going to regularly visit it. But it's just really incredible. It's really incredible that there's going to be a whole reef out there that is named after him. I mean, I couldn't even fathom it.
Well, Jacob was my grandson. Was very close to him. Fished with him, hunted with him. He was a great outdoorsman, even though relatively young. He's been missed. My faith in God has permitted me or allowed me to tolerate this. It's been a real shock.
So my name is David Falk. I had known Jacob since birth. He and his father and I are business partners at Falk and Meek General Contractors, and John and I have known each other since we were young kids living across the street from each other back in Metairie, Louisiana as youngsters. After Jacob's passing, mentioned to Rad and Jim Ferguson at the time, who was the Baton Rouge chapter president of CCA, that I had received an email about another reef that had been dedicated to someone, and in a meeting that we had together at a social event, I told them how much it would mean to me and of course the Meek family if we could somehow get behind a reef dedicated to Jacob Meek, and we have worked together since then to make this a reality.
Hi, I'm Joe Quinlan. Jacob Meek is my nephew and godchild, and what we're doing today is we're dedicating an artificial reef out at South Timbalier 165, and thanks to all of the efforts of Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, partnership with Chevron and CCA Louisiana, the reef is getting dedicated in Jacob's name. He was a phenomenal outdoorsman and battled with epilepsy for most of his life and shown great resilience and determination, and his happy place was being out on the water, and he was deemed the Fish Whisperer by most of his family and friends because there was a rare occasion that he ever went out on the water and didn't bring something home.
I work for Chevron, and we are so happy to be part of this project. We've been working with CCA for years and years on these artificial reefs, and we're just so proud to play a very small part of this large impact that they make in coastal communities.
Today we're going out in the Gulf of Mexico to watch the creation of some of Louisiana's newest fisheries habitat. We have a location out at South Timberlair Block 165 at 91 feet of water, and we're going to be placing 6 foot by 6 foot concrete modules called fish houses out in the depths out there to create a habitat for our red snapper, for our cobia, for our grouper, for our other deep water species. So it's a very special day for us as conservationists, and also an exciting day for us as anglers, because we know we'll have a good fishing destination to go to now out at South Timberlair 165. As well, we're creating a second reef at South Timberlair Block 77 in the next few days. So this will be 2 new sites that are directly south of Cocodrie, Louisiana, accessible from several marinas that anglers and sportsmen can get to. And we're very excited because the start of snapper season is in another 2 weeks, and we'll have this new structure out there, and we'll see how quickly the snapper populated. These fish houses are concrete structures, and the way they're utilized by the fish is both as hiding places, but also as a hard attachment point for the marine organisms, for the corals, the sponges, the barnacles, the other things that start the marine food chain. Because all of our water bottoms are soft out there. They're either sandy or muddy. And we put this hard substance out there, and it just creates an ideal habitat for marine organisms to attach to grow, to thrive, and to start that food chain.
How do the fish like it?
The fish love it. And like I say, snapper season starts in 2 weeks. So we'll get a good test on these to see how quickly the fish are attracted to it, number one. And then over the next years, how it becomes populated with these marine organisms. But this is a very special project to us in CCA because there's a dedication to Jacob Meek, a fine young man, a fisherman, a good loyal friend of CCA who passed too quickly. And this was his favorite fishing spot. So we're very excited to go back out there and replace the platform that had been removed with this new reef structure.
We are the Coastal Conservation Association of Louisiana. We're about 25,000 members statewide who are dedicated to conserving and preserving our coastal resources across the state. We are here today in beautiful Point Fouchon, Louisiana, with a really special project, the Jacob Meek Artificial Reef, and looking forward to a great day on the water. Well, today we will build our 43rd artificial reef in just over a decade or so, which is really an amazing amount of productivity for this project. We have sort of 2 versions of our reef program. We have one where we build sort of inshore projects that are done in shallower water to mimic and sort of refurbish oyster habitat. And then like the one we're doing today, we're out replacing habitat in a place where oil and gas structure used to stand. That oil and gas structure was removed, and so by building the reef we're building today, it actually replaces that lost habitat, and there's no better way to do it than the way we're doing it today. It's a long process. You have to go through permits and approvals and so on, like you would with any sort of program like this. We work with the state government in order to get those permits and approvals done. We plan the site accordingly. In our case, we work with our local CCA chapters to identify favorite fishing spots over history that in this case today where a platform has been removed. So we work with our local chapters, we work with government, then we have to go find donors like our great donors from Chevron today who are making this all possible. And then on top of that, we're able to utilize matching dollars from the state of Louisiana's Artificial Reef Trust Fund to go up against the CCA and Chevron money to effectively double the size of this project. So it's a long, arduous process, but it sure is nice when it comes together like it does today. We are dedicated to preserving and conserving our coastal resources, and nothing is more important to those coastal resources than good habitat. So when habitat is lost, we feel like it's our job to help rebuild and restore that habitat, and that's exactly what we're out here doing today.
John and I grew up together, and our kids were great friends together, and my son's best friend was Jacob. And it's when tragedy happens and something like this comes up to remember him by, we really wanted to do something special that would, should somebody come by the reef underneath the water, scuba diving or in some way, we just felt like it was something we wanted to do in our metal fabrication shop, just to give it a lifetime label, so to speak, on it. Well, the sign is made out of 12-gauge stainless steel that we cut on our machines at the office, and it's through-bolted and attached to the fish houses, and it's going to be sunk down, obviously, with the reef, and they're going to put it kind of oriented a little bit away from everything else, so it'll kind of just it'll be a marker for the reef, and it's stainless steel, so it's going to be there longer than any of us. I'm extremely excited. CCA has done so many great things over the years. We really need people to support CCA and help fund projects like this that are going to give our children and our grandchildren the same opportunities to fish that we've had our whole lives.
Good morning. Welcome to the dedication of the Jacob Meek Artificial Reef. It is a wonderful day here at Port Fourchon, Louisiana. We're here with this great group of people for a very special event, the dedication of the Jacob Meek Artificial Reef. We're here today with our partners from Chevron, from the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Obviously, some CCA members and members of the Meek family are with us today. Got a lot of good things to talk about as we make our way out to the reef site and back this afternoon. But before we do that, we just want to tell you a little bit about our project and how this all came about. Jacob Meek was a very special young man who passed away in 2019 while attending college. We're going to talk a little bit about his life's journey and sort of what brought us here today. And in order to help us do that, I'd like to introduce first Jacob's father, Mr. John Meek. John?
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, what a thrill. This has been 3 years in the making. And I can only tell you that Jacob Meek is smiling down on us today. You never met a more avid angler, a more dedicated outdoorsman than he was. And I can unequivocally say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that South Timberlier 165 was one of his favorite places to ever spend time. And through partnerships with folks like Chevron, CCA, the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, this is a dream come true. For me, for my wife Tiffany, the rest of my family, and everybody who knew him and understood his passion and enthusiasm for fishing in general, or for the outdoors in general, but for fishing specifically. On his headstone, it is engraved, the Fish Whisperer. And we called him the Fish Whisperer because it didn't matter where he was or who he was with. If there was a fish to be caught, he was going to catch it. I just can't thank everyone enough for making this dream a reality. And I'm so looking forward to getting out there today and seeing those blocks deployed to know that we're creating habitat for the next several decades. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. I consider myself amongst the lucky group that got to know Jacob over his short life. My daughter actually went to school with Jacob. And as you can hear in John's voice, Jacob was simply a ray of sunshine to anybody who ever knew him. And his legacy will live on through this project here today. As John mentioned, we could not be here today without the great partners like Chevron, the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, Romeo Papa Boats, and E&L Construction. But no one more than our friends at Chevron have stepped up to make this a possibility. Here today from Chevron to speak a little bit about our partnership is our friend, Miss Alex Sheremy. Alex?
Thank you so much. So just on behalf of Chevron, thank you to CCA and the entire Meek family. We are such a small part of this, but we are so proud and we are so happy to just be able to be a part of this with y'all. And just thank you to our partners. Thank you to CCA for this partnership. And I can't wait to get out there today and get this reef installed.
I'd have to do the math, Rad, but we're probably approaching a dozen or so reefs that we've built with Chevron over the years. I can tell you more than that even. So no one in Louisiana does more work to help our coast and to preserve our fisheries than our friends at Chevron. So Alex, thank you so much, and thank you for making this possible here today. I know there's a lot of work that goes into putting together a project like this. There's CCA members all across the coast that make this possible as well. There's permits to get, there's approvals to be made, there's planning that goes into it, and the man who is responsible for all of that hard work is a man you've heard from before in our Reef projects. This is Reef number 43, if I'm not mistaken, over our history, and the man who's been behind all of those is our Reef coordinator, Mr. John Walther. John.
Today we'll be working out in South Timberlair Block 165 in 91 feet of water. This was a very popular destination, and it had a large oil platform, production platform out there that created habitat that attracted not only the fish but gave a home to the marine organisms. Today we're seeking to replace that by placing 45 concrete reef modules down there. Each one of these reef modules is 6 feet by 6 feet by 6 feet. They have holes that the fish can swim in and out of, but more importantly, it's a hard substance that the marine organisms can attach to start the food chain, to start this new habitat. So we're very excited today to be working with our partners, especially with Chevron, Romeo Papa Boats, E&L Construction with the fish boxes, Compass Solution, our surveyor, and Wildlife and Fisheries, our technical supporter, financial supporter, and guardian of this reef program that's made it so great for Louisiana for all of these years. So we're happy today to be bringing this new fishing habitat, new fishing destination to the citizens of Louisiana. So we're going to go out in the boats today and actually seeing these reef modules being installed and dedicate this reef to our dear departed friend, Jacob Meek.
Great. Well, once again, we want to thank all of you. We want to thank our CCA members, our CCA chapters across Louisiana. Again, we want to thank Chevron, the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, E&L Construction, Romeo Papa Boats. But most of all today, we want to give a special thank you to the Meek family for allowing us to honor Jacob in this way.
I think it's wonderful. It's great. It's a wonderful program. I was just talking to a fellow over there about it, how it got started, who finances it, and such like that. And it sounds like the Chevron is a big player in this.
It means a tremendous amount. Jacob, to anyone who knew him, was an avid fisherman. We used to call him the fish whisperer. He was always on the water, always wanted to go after the next fish. And this just means a tremendous amount to the family, to me, that we were able to get this done and have a permanent, dedicated reef in Jacob's name is just unbelievable.
This is phenomenal. With all of the rigs that have been removed from the Gulf of Mexico, the opportunity to have artificial reefs, particularly in the great hotspots, have been just a phenomenal development, and really excited and hope this can continue.
CCA has been doing these reefs for years, and Chevron's had the pleasure of being able to contribute a very small part, but we're so happy because these reefs are able to provide habitat for the fish, for the ecosystems, and for families alike to come and fish these great places in South Louisiana.
I can't say enough about what CCA, Chevron, Romeo Papa, I just can't say enough about what they're all doing to ensure that we've got fisheries for decades to come. With all the Gulf oil platforms being removed, this artificial reef is going to create lasting habitat for all the reef dwellers, grouper, snapper, cobia, you name it. So I don't have enough to say about it.
Anyone can become a member of CCA. It's only $35 to be a member of our organization, and for that you now have a voice. You have a voice at the state capitol. You have a voice on the coast who's out here doing work like this. Our membership is a grassroots membership. It is the lifeblood of this organization. So I'd encourage all of our viewers today to go join CCA. You'll be glad you did.
It's a big day. The Meeks have been close friends of CCA, close friends of mine, and there's not a better way to honor their son and his memory than rebuilding his favorite fishing spot.
Yeah, CCALouisiana.com. You can join CCA right there on the spot. You can learn all about our projects like this and other news we have going on with our organization. Really simple, and we really depend on viewers like the ones out there today to get involved.